viewers, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Talk the Talk. I'm Desh, and I'm so excited to be chatting with my next guest, Natasha Naidoo, Customer Contact Center Manager at Nissan South Africa. So Natasha is said to be extremely passionate about not only the brand that she represents, but motoring in general. She takes pride in her brand and the success thereof and works relentlessly to achieve it. She actively participates in creating brand awareness and seeks out to educate and enlighten potential customers on what is on offer and also on customer service. Natasha was one of our last year's finalists for the Motoring Woman of the Year Awards, and she made it to the top 30. So I'm very excited to welcome Natasha, and as always, this interview is proudly brought to you by Sariti Solutions. Hello, Natasha.
Hi, Desh. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Pleasure.
Drove me the wrong way. So, you're from Nissan in Roslyn, isn't it?
That's correct. I'm from Roslyn.
Okay. And you're formerly from Durban, though?
Richards Bay, actually.
Richards, Zululand.
Zululand.
Yes. And your dad, you said, was in the industry for many years.
Yes.
Hey, in service.
Yes, in service.
Let's give him a shout out. What is his name?
I'm going to use his traditional name.
Uh-huh.
It's Cooks.
Okay, that's what people in the industry knows him as, right? Okay, so like I said, congratulations. Last year you were the top 30. I mean, there were thousands of nominees and you made it to the top 30, and you said to me off air earlier on that your entire family watched us or watched the live, and you were all like, supporting. So thank you so much for that. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
No problem, Desh. It was just an honor to be a nominee, to be nominated for something that's in here and not outside.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Absolutely. You have some interesting stories to tell, and I think stories that are definitely going to inspire our viewers. But let's first start with regard to your profession. How long have you been in motoring South Africa? Where did it all begin?
So my career started in early 2008 with a small company called GD South Africa. I don't know if you'll remember it. Mm-hmm. I think we had one model out in the market. It was called the MC or MK at that time. And I had started as a receptionist. Amazingly enough, GD was actually based in Roslyn as well. So to get to work, I would have to drive past Nissan. Okay. So I would get to the robot and I would turn right to go to Geely, and Nissan is on your left.
I always thought it was pronounced as Geely.
Oh, they take that very personally, back in the day.
Right.
If you say Geely and not Geely.
Okay.
I said Geely when I got there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So it was quite an amazing journey for me as well. That's where I first experienced the motor industry and the stress involved with it in terms of marketing and logistics and these events and budgets, and it was quite interesting. Obviously, I started at a very entry-level position. I started off as the reception, outsourced to a company called TRM, and then offered an after-sales coordinating job. Geely only lasted about 8 months, and then I moved on to BMW Financial Services, and then from there to Nissan in 2009.
Oh wow! And so you've been with Nissan ever since.
Ever since.
Which means you've adopted this absolute passion and love for your brand.
I love Nissan. I mean, I'm a third generation Nissan, if I can say that. My grandfather started off at Nissan at the dealership called Sucrose. And he was a salesperson there. And then my dad as well, first at a dealership called Matuba Nissan, and then eventually at Motors Nissan in Zululand. So I grew up in those dealerships, so it was amazing for me to
So tell me, what
Nissan.
do you love about the brand? And you know, where you're working, the culture of the company. What do you love most about Nissan and the brand?
So I'm very family orientated, and my family is very important to me. And I think that resonates with me, and we share those synergies.
Right.
So for Nissan, from what I've seen and what I've experienced, people is very important. Family is very important. I think I've seen that a lot through this whole COVID thing.
Right.
Where Nissan really stood behind us as employees.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the things I'm really proud of. Yeah.
And what do you enjoy most about your role?
It's going to sound very cliche, but forgive me. It's my customers and dealer engagements. I mean, every day is dynamic. I can't tell you that today was like yesterday. Every day is different, and I'm challenged to think of out-of-the-box solutions for my customers to get them satisfied. So yeah, I think that's, and also just getting experience with different cultures and people. It's very interesting.
Right. Natasha, you obviously have people that absolutely have stood by you, that support you, that have inspired you. And especially, and this is where I'm going to ask you to enlighten us about this motivation that you've drawn from your family. You went through cancer recently. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. It's still a little bit difficult. In 2020, right into lockdown, my husband and I had decided that we're going to have our second child. We're going to try, because we were lucky once, maybe we can get lucky twice.
Okay.
My son was 9 at the time, and I went in for a consultation, and doctor wasn't too happy with what he saw, and I went into theater, had some samples taken out, and then was told that I need to make a decision. I have cancer. It's either that I can wait and try to have the child that I wanted, or I need to take it out. But I ran the risk of it going to the next stage and potentially dying.
Wow.
So I had to make that decision. Obviously, for me, it was important that I'm there, because I have a lot of people that relies on me. My parents live with me, and I do have one child that I completely adore and I love, and I want to be there for him. If when he gets married and he finishes school, and not in that order.
Yeah, I was hoping. Okay.
But I want to be there, so I made that decision to have a full hysterectomy, and yeah.
Okay. What, aside from your son being your inspiration, what advice can you give to women when they wake up in the morning, are going through chemo especially, and fighting this disease? My mom went through it last year. She had a mastectomy as well. Is that what it's called? Mastectomy. Was very bad at 69, 68 years old, and I've seen her suffer. Struggle especially, and days where she wanted to give up. What type of advice can you give to women?
Look, for me, I feel like as women, especially us working women, we tend to neglect our health. So as the first point, I would say, please do your yearly checkups. Check on yourself. Have a buddy. Do checkups on each other.
Right.
And if you do experience something like this, don't fall apart. It's not a death sentence.
Yeah.
For me, when the doctor told me that it's your decision, it was my decision. It was not a decision for my husband. It was me. I needed to decide what was right for me, and I decided that I want to do the hysterectomy. And for me, it was just, I wasn't going to fall apart. There is a time for crying, and that was not the time. I needed to stay positive, and that's the first step in being healthy. And I think that's what I would say. Just be positive and look to the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I have some notes today, and literally things that I want to say, and I actually forget them. I think about these things at night, and I'm like, I'm gonna say it today on my show, and I don't. And I think this is so apt, like, that I should say it now. Life is not a problem to be solved but a reality to be experienced. And I think if we
That's so
stop
true.
looking at every single challenge that we have, like it is or it needs to be solved, but rather just an experience that we need to overcome. It is so absolutely important, and you just validated that. Natasha, along the way, you've obviously done things that you would have done differently to maybe warrant a better result. Something that you might have changed along your journey, moving up the ranks. What is that, and what had it been done differently?
Two things. So when I moved up here, I was studying my BCom Industrial Psychology degree, and I was almost done. But I decided to put my education aside and get married and move up to be here with my partner. If I would go back, I would, number one, complete that degree. Then that's the intellectual decision that I would make. And the second thing, personally and professionally, I think I would trust myself more in terms of my thinking and my decision making, and not question myself. I think I tend to talk down to myself, to say you're not there yet, or I underestimate myself. And that's another thing with the cancer. I don't do that anymore. I don't second guess myself. If an opportunity presents itself, I'm going to be there and I'm going to take it. The more uncomfortable, the better.
Absolutely. And you've got to keep moving. And if I just remember one of the things I said to one of my staff earlier on, I said, you've got to keep moving. You can't stop.
That's so
because
profound.
life literally is like a bicycle. You need to keep riding in order to keep the balance. And it's so important to that. You can't stop. You cannot stop.
That belongs in a book.
Really, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. Natasha, as you said earlier on, and it's often that ladies come here. I've done over 300 interviews in the industry, and they say, Tish, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to meet you, and I draw so much of inspiration from the shows, and we are in the motoring trade, we need this platform. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. If it was not for you sitting here, Natasha, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I literally take every single day, I do 4 to 5 interviews, and I'm like, I've learned so much today. I'm so excited. You can ask my team sitting here. I'm excited every day because I learn every day. But you have been, it's women like you that have been such great champions, and you said this earlier on, we watch you, my entire family supports you, and thank you for that. But why do you believe that a platform like this is so necessary?
Look, if I look at the motor industry, women are far, and we're slowly clawing up that ladder here, and we need more recognition for us, for the women that are there, to get the younger generation involved, to draw them in, and I think a platform like yours, it's so important. Just to be involved in it, forget that I was top 30, but just to be nominated and to know that there's something out there that recognizes us women, from the industry, it means a lot. If I look at the industry now, there's women directors, there's general managers, there's technicians, there's engineers that are females. It's completely awesome. I love it.
Absolutely. And how did the nomination actually feel last year, knowing that you were on this platform? It is sponsored and supported by Nedbank, which is huge. So this recognition from them that you finally got in this industry after years. Some ladies were recognized after working in the industry for 40 years, and it was such a heartwarming feeling being there. How did you feel?
At first I thought they were joking. I thought someone's pulling a gag on me. I really thought it was a joke. And then so I think if you ask the person that called me, I was like, excuse me, come again? Because they had gotten hold of me on my landline. And it was a complete shock. So I got home. Obviously I want to tell mom first, because she's very inspiring to me, my mom, and what she's been through and so forth. So for me it was like coming full circle, and I was like, Mom, guess what?
Yeah.
She's like, what? You know, why are you saying that like that? I'm like, no, it's good news. It's good news. And then I told
especially
her,
after what you went through with the
yes,
cancer.
exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So it was quite amazing. My mom immediately then was on the phone with everybody. Being Indian, everybody needs to know. Entire family, the entire community back in Richards Bay. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys make me famous in these areas like Richards Bay. I went literally last week or 2 weeks ago to Santon, and there was a lady that came up to me, and I know that people in the industry might know me, but she came up to me and she said, do you know that I know you Dish, you're the motoring something, and Bash with Tash a couple of years ago, she shared all your stuff, so thanks Tash out there, I'm still thinking about you. She's a very big influencer in the motoring trade. So not in the motoring trade, but she's an influencer in general in Durban. And she was involved in the first MOT, and she shared everything, and she really championed for what I'm doing. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, because ultimately the message we want to get through to people is not just a message for the motoring trade, it's for every industry. It's all about women empowerment, women standing together, women moving up the ranks, women being confident in everything that they do. This is what we stand for. This is our mission. So yeah, that was absolutely amazing. And with that, Natasha, I want you to now speak to my cameras and speak to not my cameras, but my audience, and advise the young girls. You might just be changing, someone's life out there, and advise them with regard to what needs to be done, and what attributes or what they need to have to work in the industry and move up the ranks.
As a young person, you need to believe in yourself, educate yourself. Don't second guess yourself. Be the strong individual that you are. If an opportunity presents itself, take it. Always be on the lookout for internships within the motor industry. We have a wonderful graduate program at Nissan South Africa. Check us out on LinkedIn. It's a global program as well. You have a chance to travel. Please take up the opportunities that are available. These opportunities are not there only for boys. We girls, we are powerful. We can do anything. So take up the opportunity. I look forward to seeing you guys there.
Yay, at the top.
Yeah, at the top.
At the top. Thank you so much, Natasha. Thank you very much for coming through and for just being a part of the program. I really appreciate you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, viewers. Thank you for watching, commenting, and sharing our interviews and our content. Our non-profit companies, the Motoring Woman of the Year Awards, powered by MFC and Evo by Nedbank, and the Talk Studios, powered by Sariti Solutions, are aimed at recognizing and celebrating the women of motoring South Africa, women just like Natasha over here. We are not just telling stories, we are changing lives. We're trying to change lives. Together, we aim to empower and uplift the women of our trade. For those of you that are searching for your new ride, please visit www.auto.evo.africa. We have thousands of vehicles on sale for you to choose from, and we only advertise on behalf of reliable and trustworthy MFC accredited dealerships. This car listing portal is incredibly user-friendly, and you can also find vehicle reviews and car maintenance tips and advice, all courtesy of Talk the Talk Studios. Ladies, today I just want to read off my little paper here because there's so much that I'd like to say to you. I do not get the opportunity, but today this is very, very it's a message that really touched my heart. It says that live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. And I think it's so important in terms of what Natasha said earlier on, and that's Be confident, educate yourself, make sure that you are equipped with knowledge. I keep saying that we cannot feel entitled. We cannot feel like, yes, women were predominantly, disadvantaged in terms of the opportunities that were presented or not presented to us, and now we should feel entitled. No, there's ways and means to get this or move up the ranks and get the success, and one of the ways to do that is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Ladies, to truly achieve your goals and be successful in your own right, you must also have integrity. Being honest and having moral standards allows people to achieve success without compromising their values. Having integrity also involves keeping your promises and making stronger relationships with your colleagues and clients, which also Natasha spoke about earlier. Listen, that is not a cliche. That is true. You must have love for what you're doing, and you must have love for people. Must be patient with people. This definitely will attribute to your success over time. And on that note, I'd like to remind you that the question isn't who's going to let me. It should always be,
who's gonna stop me?
Yay!